Every day, SDPB connects South Dakotans with stories that inform, inspire, and bring us together. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder.
Good morning. We'll call Health and Human Services meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone in the room, welcome everyone listening or watching online. We're going to have a tight schedule this morning. I will say we're going to try and limit each bill, proponent and opponent, to about 12 and a half minutes, be a little bit flexible on that. Because we have another meeting this afternoon. I really prefer not to defer one till this afternoon. A reminder, please, to have your cell phones silenced so we don't have any disruptions. And with that, I'd ask the secretary to call the roll.
Senator Grove.
Here.
Harry.
Here.
Reed. Here. Smith. Excused. Voigt.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Jensen.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. Senator Perry moves approve the minutes. Second. Senator Grove. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. Minutes are approved. I want to remind the testifiers, if you're here to testify on your own behalf or an organization and you haven't testified before, please sign up on the podium over here or use the QR code to do it on your phone. Also, lobbyists, by this time you're tired of hearing this, but please have your proper credentials on. And if you're testifying, let us know which organization you're testifying for. If you have handouts, please give them to the pages to distribute to the committee. And with that, I'd ask the pages to come up, introduce yourself, your name, where you're from, and if you have any future plans coming up.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Ronning, and I'm from Hill City. I'm a senior in high school, and I plan to go to South Dakota School of Mines for industrial engineering.
My name is Levi Atkins. I'm a senior at Willow Lake High School, and I plan to go to Northern State for elementary education.
All right, thank you very much. Pages are very important, what we do here. We appreciate your service. With that, I think we'll get right into the first bill here. House Bill 1313, require education in prenatal human growth and development. Do I have any proponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee. Tony Kaiser, District 14, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I'm here this morning to introduce House Bill 1313, an act to require education in prenatal human growth and development. Under Section 1, it says the South Dakota Board of Education Standards shall recommend resources for age-appropriate and research-based instruction in prenatal human growth and development. A school district shall use the resources recommended by the board, provide a health or science curriculum. Section 2 briefly says the act must include a high-definition ultrasound video that shows the presence of the brain, heart, and other major organs as they appear at various stages in prenatal development. And it ends up in that section says any video or computer-generated rendering or animation shown as required by this section must be at least 3 minutes in length. So, Mr. Chair, there's been 6 other states that have implemented this into law, them being Iowa, North Dakota, Kansas, Indiana, Idaho, and Tennessee. And 20 states are considering similar legislation. So the bill passed out of the House floor 52-10. So if I take the opportunity now, if I could actually maybe show the quick, short 3-minute video of what a video might look like as far as the resources to be used. Thank you.
So we will be at ease for a few minutes while we try to get the video up.
SDPB shares the voices and experiences of South Dakotans, preserving our stories, our culture, and our sense of place. SDPB, good, useful, and full of wonder.
Okay, we will back, the committee will come back to order, please.
Development in the womb begins with the release of a mature egg from the ovary. Throughout your life, your ovaries will mature and release approximately 500 eggs. The egg moves into the fallopian tube and awaits fertilization. The cilia lining the tube and the muscular contractions of the tube itself guide the egg toward the site of fertilization. Up to 1 billion sperm can be released in a single ejaculation. Each of them embarks on a challenging journey to fertilize an egg. These sperm must navigate through the female reproductive tract, with only the strongest reaching the egg in the fallopian tube for potential fertilization. When the egg and sperm successfully fuse, they form a zygote, marking the beginning of a new genetic combination and the first stage of embryonic development. Once implanted in the uterine lining, the fertilized egg begins a complex process of cell division and growth, ultimately developing into an embryo. By the 4th week of pregnancy, the eyes, ears, and limbs start to develop. Within 5 weeks, major organs such as the kidneys, liver, heart, and circulatory system begin to form. By the 6th week, facial features become more distinct, and the brain continues its rapid growth. The nose, mouth, and ears can now be recognized. By the 8th week, all major organs are in place. The fetus begins to move, although the mother cannot feel it yet. The reproductive organs begin to form in the 9th week of pregnancy. By the 10th week, the sense of smell and the heart are now fully developed. The fetus can now make fists and open its mouth. By the 11th week, the bones begin to harden. The fetus can now yawn and stretch. By the 16th week of pregnancy, the neck and backbone muscles become stronger. The fetus's eyes can now move side to side. By the 18th week, the baby starts kicking and rolling and begins to develop a regular sleep and wake cycle. The 30th week of pregnancy is very special. The brain now contains billions of neurons and is growing rapidly. The fetus's skin is becoming softer and smoother as it gains more fat, and the body's temperature is now controlled by the central nervous system. By the 35th week, the baby is now able to recognize the mother's voice. By the 40th week, the hair and nails continue to grow, and the skull bones are not yet fused. A full-term pregnancy lasts up to 40 weeks and 6 days. By now, most systems are fully developed and ready for the outside world. As the fetus prepares for birth, an important developmental milestone occurs. The turning or flipping to the birth position, typically head down to facilitate a safer and easier delivery. A hormone called relaxin loosens the ligaments of the pelvis, widening the birth canal just in time for delivery. During childbirth, the body produces a natural lubricant known as vernix caseosa, which facilitates a smoother passage for the baby through the birth canal.
Okay, thank you. We'll continue with in-person testimony.
Thank you. I just want to share real quickly. I've worked pretty closely with Secretary of Education, Dr. Graves, and also the President of the Board of Standards, Steve Perkins, And they agree there's a need for this kind of education, and they really appreciate we're going through the board of standards to get to the schools. Schools can decide the curriculum, age appropriate, and which video would satisfy as long as it's 3 minutes or longer. So I'll stand by for questions.
Hey, do you have any other proponent testimony? Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and esteemed committee. For many years, South Dakota has been a leader in putting value on the life of babies in the womb, and this bill continues that priority. As was mentioned by the Prime, this is a simple addition to existing curriculum, and it creates no hardship on administrators or teachers and will be of great benefit to them and to the students they serve. Districts make the choice to select any videos that met the requirements. I also had an opportunity to have a conversation with Dr. Graves, who, as you know, is the Secretary of our Education. And in our discussion, I asked his expertise on how he would actually roll this out. His input is that the video or videos could be shown starting in middle school, possibly inserting into biology or health occupations or consumer science curriculum. Once the legislation is passed, suggested videos would be submitted to the Department of Education. Then the DOE staff would review and select 4 or 5 options and then give individual school districts the freedom to show which video or videos that they prefer. Again, this is a non-burdensome addition to the curriculum, and it'll be great benefit to our students, to parents, and educators. So I graciously ask your yes vote on HB 1313.
Could you introduce yourself, your name, for those that are listening online?
Yeah, Greg Blanc, Senator, District 35, Pennington County, Rapid City.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any other proponent testimony? Good morning. And I kind of lost track of my, because of the delay.
Okay.
I'm winging it right now.
All righty. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Lisa Gennaro with Concerned Women for America, LAC. Every time we show a kid's tiny seeds pushing up through the soil to become a plant, or watch a tadpole sprout legs and turn into a frog, they light up. It's fun. They like to learn. Those simple life cycle moments make science feel alive and magical. Human development from the very beginning is even more amazing. Imagine sharing that same awe with our students, showing them the incredible journey from a single cell to a heart big, tiny fingers, and a growing baby ready to meet the world. HB 1313 brings age-appropriate lessons on prenatal human growth into our schools. This curriculum helps young people. This is not political, but an empowering scientific fact, fostering deep appreciation for biology's wonders in a positive way. Leaders like Senator Red Dawn Foster see how great this can be, and adding Lakota translations would make it even more welcoming for every family across our state. This isn't about adding a whole new class. It's an enhancement to what we already teach in health or science. Like said before, they can be animation type videos, whatever our state board decides. I hope you please vote yes on this. And I also have a handout. I'll have the pages go ahead and give you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. Dale Barcher, registered lobbyist with South Dakota Right to Life, and we do stand in rise in support of HB 1313. We certainly hope that's our lucky number today in this committee. I also bring you a positive a testimony from Family Voice Action. They're in another committee right now, but they wanted you to know. We think that giving accurate prenatal development in the mother's womb information is a wonderful thing and a good thing. We simply would ask for your support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Michael Pauley. I'm director of the South Dakota Catholic Conference. We represent the Catholic bishops of South Dakota. Just a brief comment. You know, a lot of the issues that we talk about in this building in one way or another revolve around human rights, treating people fairly, giving people what is their due. And it just occurred to me watching the video that you all saw this morning that perhaps we don't spend enough time reflecting on what is the foundation for those claims for human rights. And it seems to me that the foundation is the inherent dignity of each and every person. And I just think that the kind of education that this bill contemplates I think would promote a certain awe and a certain maybe higher regard for our common origins and the dignity of each human person. And for those reasons, I'd urge your favorable consideration of House Bill 1313. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other proponent testimony? Good morning.
I'm Lucy McBride from Spearfish, South Dakota, District 31, testifying on behalf of myself. Coming here this morning, I was pretty excited to see what was presented. My first child that I had conceived was 1983, so having not had the advantage of something like this, it's kind of like a hurrah moment, knowing the importance of what I was going into to nurture a new life. And I think the video was very tasteful. So I think it would be to the advantage for every biology class, besides knowing about all the other creatures that we live among, to know more about ourselves, and especially the role of women to nurture our unborn children. So I'm pretty excited about this bill, and I hope you vote in favor of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony in the room? I don't think we have any online. So any other proponent testimony? Okay, with that, we'll move to opponent testimony. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Sandra Waltman with the South Dakota Education Association, and I'm here to oppose House Bill 1313. In South Dakota, curriculum decisions follow standards set by the South Dakota Board of Education Standards and are implemented by local school boards and educators. This ensures statewide consistency while preserving local control. House Bill 1313 would change that approach. This bill goes beyond setting standards. It mandates specific instructional materials, formats, and time requirements, representing a significant shift. Legislative mandates for particular videos and classroom content is a slippery slope. If this is allowed, what subject will be next? Science, history, literature? Before long, we will have a list of mandates to be taught without any understanding of how it fits into the overall educational process. While some may argue that this legislature has previously set curriculum requirements, the examples cited do not compare to this bill. Senate Bill 129, which addresses suicide awareness, does not require classroom curriculum. Instead, it sets training requirements for teacher certification. Senate Bill 130 requires school districts to adopt a bullying policy, but it does not require sport-specific course or instructional materials. Senate Bill 140, which covers hands-only CPR, does require training. However, it gives districts a lot of flexibility in how to carry that out. House Bill 1313 differs in its specificity. I can't say the word today. It dictates that what schools must teach, how to teach it, and where or where not to obtain materials, removing the discretion from professionals and local school officials. Finally, I want to talk about parental input. Local school boards offer direct opportunities for parent engagement when it comes to curriculum. Parents can attend meetings, review materials, and serve on curriculum committees, and collaborate with educators. This local feedback process is more responsive than a statewide mandate as this is. It is unclear if parents will have a say in this video or if they will be able to opt their child out of its viewing. SDA firmly believes that while standards should be set by the state, curriculum decisions should stay local. For these reasons, we respectfully ask you to vote no on House Bill 1313.
Thank you. Do we have any other opponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Samantha Chapman. I represent the ACLU of South Dakota. We rise also today in opposition to this bill, and also as a mom in South Dakota, I have strong objections here. As a parent, I believe that our classrooms should be places where young people learn facts, build skills, and feel supported, not where political ideology is forced on them under the guise of education. The proponents of this bill claim that this is merely enhancing education about prenatal development, and that is not true. As the sponsor even stated, this bill is part of a national effort to insert videos produced by political organizations into public school classrooms. Experts in sex education and child development are clear. Showing an ultrasound or fetal development video, especially when presented in isolation, is not a best practice and it is not recommended by the National Sex Education Standards. When stripped of broader context, these lessons do not inform students, they mislead them. The video that we all just watched falsely asserts that life begins at fertilization and presents distorted, emotionally manipulative depictions of fetal development. Leading medical authorities, including the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, have condemned videos like this as medically inaccurate and misleading. This is not neutral education, it's propaganda. Decades of public health research show that comprehensive, medically accurate sex education helps young people delay sexual initiation, reduce unintended pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections, build communication skills, and understand bodily autonomy. These outcomes are achieved through evidence-based education, not through ideologically driven videos designed to provoke emotion rather than understanding. When this bill was presented to the House, the sponsor rejected an amendment that would have required that the instructional materials be medically accurate, research-based, age-appropriate, and aligned with state-approved health, education, and science standards, and that the instruction be presented objectively. That amendment was rejected. Think about that. Why would a state legislator reject an amendment that would have required materials taught in our public schools to be medically and scientifically accurate and aligned with state education standards? Science should be taught in science class, not propaganda. South Dakota has long valued local control, parental involvement, and respect for educators. This bill moves in the opposite direction by centralizing curricular decisions at the legislature and board level and tying the hands of teachers in classrooms. House Bill 1313 replaces science-based education standards with ideology, restricts credible sources of medical information, and undermines local control and professional judgment in our schools. This is not a South Dakota bill. This is not something that our local schools have been asking for. This is part of an effort from a national anti-abortion organization to use our public schools to advance their agenda. We ask you to reject this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other opponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Ellie Bailey. I'm a registered lobbyist for the South Dakota chapter of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. I have a letter that the pages are passing around for your consideration. We rise today in opposition to House Bill 1313. As you've heard, this bill would bypass the current process for the development of curriculum. This bill fails to ensure that curriculum is evidence-based, medically accurate, and comprehensive. The gestational aging framework utilized in the video that you saw this morning is not aligned with how doctors and clinicians date pregnancies. Further, Section 3 of the bill unduly restricts the groups that can be consulted regarding the development of such curriculum, and for those reasons, we ask that you oppose this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Rob Munson, Executive Director for School Administrators of South Dakota. Our organization is here today not opposing this bill based on whether or not we are pro-life or on the other side of that. We are here to contend that, as Ms. Waltman stated, the process is being usurped of what typically is done when we talk about standards and curriculum in the state of South Dakota. I would argue that today we may have a committee here that is favorable of the pro-life issue today. We may have a legislature that is pro-life today. What happens when that shifts and it goes to the other side of this issue and they bring content, they bring curriculum, and they bring standards? Where would we be then? The reason we have a process in place that we do is to make sure things like this do not happen from the legislative level. There's a great process in place, and you actually would become the appeals to that process if something were to gone awry in the process that's in place. The last thing I would argue, Mr. Chair, is that this will become law if it passes, and I do not see any penalty for noncompliance in this bill of what would happen to a school district if they did not follow this law. Please oppose 1313.
Thank you. Any other opponent testimony? Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair and members of the Senate Health Committee. I too rise in opposition to House Bill 1313. First of all, we talk about this being prescriptive. I think in Section 1, if you look at, this is not prescriptive. This is mandated. It says shall.
Excuse me, are you representing yourself or an organization?
I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Diana Miller, representing the large school group. Thank you. This is not a prescriptive bill. This is a mandate. When you look at Section 1, you have two sections that speak shall, not may. If it was prescriptive, then you would say may or may not. Then you look at Section 2, it says the must. You must do certain things. And then you look at last week or the week before, you had discussions in the Senate about the parent rights bill and what are parents' rights versus the legislative rights. And consequently, I think this is in a little bit of opposition as to what you feel should be required of parents versus the legislature. In addition, you don't rely on experts, and you've heard that from the prior testimony against this bill. Experts exist in the health and science field, and that we should rely on evidence-based fact information from those experts. I think also when you look at the Section 2, is there an opt-out for parents? Wonder if they decide their children, you didn't want them to view videos or whatever else or have political discussions. Section 2 is entirely political. It is not objective or evidence-based. And I think you need to look at, lastly, when we pass bills, we always have an enforcement mechanism or a penalty. And the only penalty I could see, because it's not spoken to in this bill, is you're looking at accreditation of schools. And if schools refuse to show a particular video that the Department of Ed or someone else has recommended, what happens to that school district? What happens to that class? What happens to that teacher? When you don't have enforcement recommendations and or prescriptive enforcement, then it's left to the whims, and I don't think we want to do that. Respectfully, Mr. Chairman, I would ask that you oppose House Bill 1313 and send it to the 41st legislative day. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponent testimony?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Heath Larson, Executive Director, Associated School Boards of South Dakota. We represent approximately 845 school board members across the state, the schools they govern, and students they serve. I too rise in opposition today and will be speaking in opposition of House Bill 1313 on process, not on topic. Let's talk about some specifics in the bill itself. In Section 1, it is referenced in line 7 by the board. So a school district shall use the resources recommended by the board in providing a health or science curriculum. Is board referring to the Board of Ed standards, or is it referring to the local school district governing board? I'm not sure. I will say that the Board of Education standards sets the standards. They do not set the curriculum. They set the standards. They are two entirely different things. Curriculum decisions are made at the local level. In addition to that, going down to Section 2, line 18 specifies 3 minutes in length for teaching time. This is a legislature mandating teaching time to our school districts. Our legislature has not typically involved themselves in mandates and maximums and defining teaching time. Previously, we heard proponents talk about bullying and how a bullying policy has been enacted by the legislature. That's a policy. These are standards. These are standards being mandated to schools. I would offer and recommend a win-win on this. We're going through the health standards review process currently in the state of South Dakota. The Department of Education has a team of experts that's leading that. I would recommend through that review process this year, as you're going through that, to take a look. They're very well aware that this discussion's existing. Let them take this to the Health Education Standards Review Committee and go from there and make the best decision possible for the students and school districts in South Dakota. We urge your no vote on House Bill 1313. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other opponent testimony? Okay, seeing none, we have none online, so offer time for rebuttal.
Mr. Chair, I just find it a little bit interesting
Could
why
you
there's.
introduce
I'm
yourself
sorry.
again for those online?
Yep. Tony Kaiser, District 14, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I just find it a little curious, all the opposition to science. I mean, the video kind of illustrates very specifically the miracle of life. It is science. And I just really feel kind of amazed why there's so much opposition to the video in that kind of education, I guess. In terms of some of the things that were mentioned earlier, having been in close touch with Dr. Graves, the Secretary of Education, Steve Perkins, who's actually the president of the Board of Standards, they like the idea this is needed education. They like we're going through the process of actually having them basically send it to the schools, directing it through them. So we're going through the process in a more direct way, speaking for the people of South Dakota, pro-life state by evidence of Amendment G. So I think there's evidence that we're a pro-life state through the last election, Amendment G. So as far as the opting out, all science classes parents have the ability to opt out of a class or a segment of class. So there's an opt-out option in all science and health courses already in place. So that's not a problem as far as you don't want your kids to watch the video, you can opt out. I just want to basically kind of end but this here, okay? Have you ever had a song stuck in your head? So I was coming back, I drove in this morning from Sioux Falls, left about 3:30. The song in my head was, "This One's for You." My wife likes Barry Manilow. It's a Barry Manilow song, right? So I listened to it. I went to this concert actually in September. My wife wanted to go, so I went, okay. So anyway, this song, "This One's for You" is dedicated to his grandfather. Point is, it's in my head. Can't get rid of this here. This one's for you in my head. And I listened to the lyrics, didn't really relate, but here's what it came down to. This one is for you. Looking at God's creation in that video, the sanctity of life. This one is for God to illustrate creative design, the miracle of life, and respect of life. So this one is for you. That's where that came from. I really appreciate your consideration, and I ask you to vote yes.
Okay, thank you. With that, I would open it up to committee questions. Senator Davis.
Mr. Chair, for the prime sponsor. Section 3, I appreciate the comments you were just making about, this being related to science. And I don't necessarily disagree. However, Section 3 tends to kind of lean how this is why some of the opposition feels it's political. Because you explicitly talk about that the video can't come from certain entities. Can you explain to me why Section 3 is in the bill?
Mr. Chair, I think it's important that we don't make it political. I think if it's a science-based video, and it is, then why would you want Planned Parenthood or abortion-minded organization to actually influence the process of science? So that's making it non-political.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Senator Reed.
For the prime. I just want to kind of talk through a little bit of the process for this. And I guess my first question, and if I may have some follow-ups, Mr. Chair, after this, that'd be okay. The video you showed to us is not the video that would have to be used. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, that's correct.
And then the process of creating this is 100% up to the Board of Education. I should say the process of creating the recommended resources is 100% up to the Board of Education standards?
That's correct.
They
yes.
have the final say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay. Senator Davis.
For the prime sponsor, there was some mention that the health and education standards are meeting right now and being reviewed. Would you be amenable to, or if the board president is aware of this and thinks this is necessary, why not go through that process?
You know, so there's 27 standards in the Board of Standards reviews. Of the 27 reviews that our standards are set, every 5 to 7 years they're actually reviewed. So science was last year. Be another 5 years that comes into play. Health is right now is one more meeting. There's 4 meetings a year for this year, the Board of Standards to meet. So only one more opportunity to actually have that conversation with the board for health. If it passes through not being presented this way, for example, it'd be another 5 to 7 years before it actually got looked at again through the Board of Standards. Source Base is taking this directly to the Board of Standards. I think it's actually more effective. You have, rather than just me go to basically in a committee of the Board of Standards and present this, everybody who represents South Dakota is represented in this here legislation. So we think it's a good thing to actually have the science being educated in curriculums pushed through the Board of Standards to the schools with a lot of latitude.
Thank you. Any other questions? Senator Perry.
For the prime, what do you have for enforcement on this? You know, if this was implemented, how do they enforce it?
Mr. Chair, you know, I'm not sure how they enforce any requirements as far as curriculums. I guess that'd be up to the school themselves to actually monitor and make sure what's being taught is something that should be taught based on their direction of the curriculum and what's being taught in those courses.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee?
If
Senator
I could,
Voigt.
Mr. Chair. For the prime sponsor, Senator Voigt, could you elaborate on the parental rights and having their children presented this in a curriculum at the district? We've got past the Board of Education, and now we're at the point in the classroom. Are there parent rights in having their kids not participate in this piece of the curriculum?
Mr. Chair, you know, I talked to the assistant principal of Sioux Falls, and he reassured me that every school has in their health and curriculum, science curriculum, the option to opt their kids out of class if there's something they don't see appropriate. I'm sure there's sex ed somewhere along the way, then that's why that's there. So if they think it's not appropriate for age base, they can actually again opt out of that session.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Senator Perry.
I'll go with the opponent, and either Sandra, Diane, or Rob, whichever, you guys can phone a friend, or you can do they used to in the olden days have calls where you could be on at the same time, whatever you want.
Would you state your question, then I can decide.
The question is, a couple of the things that were mentioned was objecting to the process and not visiting with enough of the experts. Just curious who the experts are and what we can do to make sure that we're moving in the right direction. And is this the right channel to be running this program through? That was a multiple choice question. How's that?
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Sandra Waltman with the South Dakota Education Association. Well, Senator Perry, I will try to answer your question. When it comes to developing standards, there is a process, and as stated previously, it happens every 7 years. And what happens is the Department of Education or the Board of Education Standards brings in educators who are certified to teach in that content area. They look at the standards, they unpack the standards, and they look at what do we need to improve, do we need to rearrange, is everything age appropriate, and then they make recommendations for the changes. Then the Board of Education Standards has 4 public hearings throughout the state over the course of the next 9 months to get feedback from parents and communities to to determine whether those standards are appropriate. And then they adopt the standards. After the standards are adopted, then each local school district, working in conjunction with curriculum directors, hopefully community members and parents, and educators who are taught in that subject matter, go and they look for the appropriate curriculum that meets the standards that have been set forth. Does that answer your question?
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, we'll close questioning and move to committee action or discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Smith.
Just for discussion, this is highly unusual, first of all, that we would put our standard process out on the side and say we're going to choose as a legislature what our schools are going to do at this with this level of with this level that we're at here in micromanaging what they're doing. And it has to be absolutely disingenuous to say that this is not political. We remember that Roe versus Wade got overturned. Abortion is illegal in the state of South Dakota. And I was wondering when that happened, what are we going to continue to do? And here we are. This, excluding everything in Section 3, when you say that an organization can't provide these things if they perform abortions or promote abortion, so you can't get information then from a hospital. I think we should be able to get information from a hospital and a hospital system. To say it's not political is so offensive to me, because it truly is political. And perhaps other people can't see that because you're on another political side. But as a person that sits up here, it offends me that we're going to put this political piece of legislation in place in all of our communities and usurp the process that exists.
Any other discussion? Or
Mr. Chair.
Senator Grove.
I've been listening to the testimony, and my bill specifically was brought into testimony, so I'd just like to say that the same group of lobbyists who just came through here against this were the same lobbyists that are also trying to kill my parental rights bill. And so speaking of disingenuous, we have these people on both sides. I think that strong parental rights, which are mostly in this particular area in the school systems, are already lined out. If you don't want your child to watch a particular video, especially like a sex education class or whatever, they send you letters and they tell you what's coming, and you can say, I don't want my child to see that. I don't want my child to participate in that. And so parents have the right to say no. Also, who I did not see in this room, nor when my bill was on the line, is a secretary from the Department of Education. I think that if this was going in the wrong way, if we were pushing something that he was saying, no, I don't want that, he would be the first one in line that would say, this is bad, I don't want that. He's not here. And he has worked with these, with the senator and with the representative, the primes on this bill, and he has said, this is the process and this is how it would work. And so I don't think that we're forcing something in an extraordinary way. I think that he's okay with how the process is going. And quite honestly, what is wrong with our children seeing how this process works in, I didn't think it was political. I guess the fact that the ones who are coming up here against it really does, in my mind, makes it political. I don't see this as anything bad, and I I will be supporting sending this to the floor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we have to be careful of saying where a department or where a department leader or the secretary lands on an issue when they're not here. I think that we're going down a very slippery slope. And even when we start referring to people said this, I think those people should be here saying those things, or we should be receiving written notice about these things. So while this doesn't necessarily affect up and down on this piece of legislature, I think we really have to be careful what we're doing here, using other people's names and saying what they believe or they don't believe when they're not here, we don't have anything written by them.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a comment. I think saying that, well, I'll put it this way. I think standardizing what we teach, that is one of the most basic scientific processes that in the human existence is the process of birth. The only other one that we can definitely say is death. But this is a scientific process. No one can deny that. So I don't see what the objection is to standardizing it in every school. We standardize math. We standardize so many different things in our curriculum. But this, I don't know how you can say that the process of birth is subjective. It is what it is. And teaching it correctly is what we need to be doing instead of teaching it subjectively in schools. So I would totally support a do-pass motion. Senator Smith.
I want to be clear. I didn't object to that birth is an amazing thing, and the process of how an embryo develops is a scientific thing. I do. There's many other things that I disagree with, though, and I talked about Section 3, saying where we can get our information and where we can't. Allow educators to use their professionalism to determine those things. That's what makes it political, is when we're saying this has to come from here. And it can't come from here. The other thing I don't see anything about is how did this egg get fertilized in the first place? We don't get to talk about that. There are schools that go to abstinence-only education. How do we end up at this place that this is happening that we're seeing on the screen? Do we get to have that discussion?
Thank you.
Mr.
Any other
Chair?
discussion, or Senator Grove?
I guess I would answer that question in saying that the schools, from some of the questions that were asked, is the schools themselves make these determinations as to which videos they decide to display. And so then they would be the ones that would be able to say, how far do we go in this process? You know, I'm nearly 56 years old. I remember back in the day, like, we learned it all. So I guess I would be shocked to think that in the 21st century that the students wouldn't learn all the entire process in a very scientific way, the way that we did. And so I think that the schools will determine and make those decisions on the videos that they display. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Senator Perry.
I think all the comments are very important, and you know, the big question that I have in the back of my mind is this the right channel for us to go down, and what type of enforcement will there be in the future? I thought the film had a lot of good things in it, and it did say that the sperm was ejaculated into that area. So, but when we get into disingenuous and things like this, we got to be careful that we have these meetings where we disagree with one another, but not be disagreeable. We just need to make sure that we're singing the same song, and that song is we want to do the best thing that we can for the constituents. And all of us aren't going to think the same. That's the important thing to remember as you walk in this room. There are the proponents, there are the opponents, and they both have very good points, and I appreciate all their comments because it will make it easier to make a decision.
Any other discussion or action?
If I could, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Voigt.
I think it's a point of or where we're starting with this in terms of conception. Ultimately, those decisions are made by the parent, and anything that is regarding that involves that parent, yay or nay, and it's not a political thing. It's a parental thing. Ultimately, that parent is represented by that local school board, and that gives them the opportunity here to make a decision in terms of what is acceptable in that community and that their kids are going to be exposed to. It's imperative that we cannot lose that perspective.
Thank you. So we're probably to committee action.
Mr. Chair,
Senator Grove.
I make a motion do pass.
Thank you. We have a House Bill 1313, a do pass motion from Senator Grove.
Second.
Second from Senator Voigt. Discussion on your motion? Okay. With that, any other discussion on the motion? Okay, with that, I would ask the Secretary to call the roll. House Bill 1313, do pass motion by Senator Grove. Secretary Graves, right? Senator Grove. I upgraded you. And then seconded by Senator Voigt. I'll ask the Secretary to call the roll.
Senator Grove.
Aye.
Perry.
Pass.
Reed.
Aye.
Smith.
No.
Voigt.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Perry.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we have 6 yeas and 1 nay.
Okay, thank you. So House Bill 1313 will move to the floor with the do pass motion. Thank you. So moving right along, I got to pull up the next bill here. See if I get it right. So House Bill 1065, revised medical purpose affirmative defense in cannabis prosecution. Do I have any proponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, oh, excuse me. I'm not feeling too hot this morning, so good morning, Chair and committee. I'd like to move an amendment.
Okay, thank you. Is it online?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And is it
Amendment D.
1065D? Could you have a motion to move that? Senator Perry moves. Seconded by Senator Grove. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay, yes, you may speak to 1065D as amended.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Oops. Let's see here. My name is Representative Travis Ismay, District 28B. I bring before you HB 1065. This bill is merely removing one three-letter word, but this one word has huge negative implications in the medical marijuana law. I've listened to countless hours of testimony concerning the medical marijuana card requirements, technical oversight of the medical marijuana enforcement procedures, and hours upon hours of people discussing different aspects of 34-20G. But there is one giant gaping hole in this law. There is no requirement for a medical marijuana card. Let me take you back in time just a few short years ago. Our constituents voted down recreational marijuana in 2 consecutive elections back to back. They do not want recreational marijuana. This little word forces recreational marijuana onto our citizenry. I want to make sure our constituents' wishes are followed to the letter. If any of you have ever read 34-20G, there is approximately 65 to 70% of that law that mentions a medical marijuana identification card, but for some reason, we don't require a card in the law. This little word that we are removing will make 34-20G an actual enforceable law. Currently, if you are apprehended with marijuana, law enforcement has no recourse if the individual claims to be using marijuana for medical reasons and has no card. Why wouldn't we require that people have a card to possess medical marijuana? If we don't, it defeats the entire purpose of having a law. I would also mention that this still federally a Schedule I substance in the same classification as heroin, and we're treating it like aspirin. I will stand by for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Jenna Severin with the South Dakota Police Chiefs Association. I'll be very brief. We're largely a Me Too on this. I do just want to echo the comment that the prime sponsor just made, that if you're arrested for marijuana possession currently and you don't have a card, you can still raise the affirmative defense after the fact. That's the biggest frustration for law enforcement in this. I think marijuana, as any other substance that is infiltrating our state, has just become a revolving door for law enforcement. We're constantly trying to play catch up. We're constantly trying to stay on top of these issues. We just see this as a common sense bill that would help us do just that. So we would ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Full disclosure, I am a prime on this. I will save my comments for discussion instead of testifying. So any other proponent testimony? Do we have any opponent testimony? Good morning.
Bobby Andera, District 10. This is unfortunate that this bill got amended, and let me tell you why. If I may, Mr. Chair, have a little bit of latitude to speak to the original bill, the amendment, and then this next amendment.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Basically, we had an amendment on the House floor, and that particular amendment addressed the affirmative defense. This is what was very, very important, because what's happening now, as with the original bill, it's simply remove that one word. It would not have done anything. The affirmative defense would have been in conflict in section, excuse me, let me get it, section 3420G 51. So simply striking out the word not would have been conflict in this section and would have actually created the same or more confusion for the courts. In addition, we must protect those who are authorized card holders of medical cannabis. This is in our Constitution. For us to penalize authorized card holders if they do not have the card on their person is unconscionable, in my opinion. The prior amendment would have removed confusion and make clear for defense attorneys who can and cannot be charged with an offense. The other reason why I am against this particular bill now, as amended, is that our Department of Health is taking a proactive approach regarding digital cards. In the wake of this welcome sea change, the amended version of the bill, the prior amended version of the bill, would have dovetailed very nicely, whereas the original bill and now the amended bill would likely be ineffective and introduce confusion when this update takes effect. So I respectfully ask that you oppose this bill as amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other opponent testimony?
Good morning,
Good
Mr.
morning.
Chairman. Mike Stevens, District 18. I will state that I have never voted for any marijuana bill to legalize it one way or another. However, I am here opposing this bill as it is now amended for several reasons. You know, these people that have gone through the process of getting the medical marijuana card have done what we've required them as a state. And what this bill then does is take away an affirmative defense and makes it a strict liability law, which means if you don't have that card on you, regardless if you went through all of the standards and all the process and you checked every box to get that card, you are guilty. Now you say, well, what's the big deal about just carrying the card? Well, tell me this. Right now, when you get picked up and let's say you don't have your insurance card with you, what does the police do? They say, okay, I'm going to write you a ticket, I'm going to write you a citation, but if you come and you bring me the card, then we will get rid of it. Why not do that same? They do that same thing now. How many of us have walked out of our room, our house, and we forgot our driver's license? How many times have we done things like that, or even forgot our billfold, or whatever it might be? This law, as this bill is just being presented, really makes things very, very confusing, even more confusing. I think it's interesting that the Attorney General is not here testifying on this. It completely changes the law in this regard for somebody who merely forgot it. They forgot their card, and now we're going to make it a crime. And I just think that that's really unfortunate. I will say that from a criminal defense standpoint, I think you're opening it up a big, big problem that should not have occurred. The bill that came out of the House was very specific as to what it required to do that. I think that made it very fair to everybody across the board. And so I would ask that you defeat the bill as it is and return it back to the way it was when it came out of the House. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other opponent testimony?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Cash Anderson, registered lobbyist for the South Dakota Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, and I'm a lawyer here in town. We get up and oppose this bill, I guess in whatever form it is. There's been talk of confusion, I guess. I'm awfully confused as well, and if it's this confusing, I think a no vote is warranted. But I think the big thing here and why the criminal defense lawyers are up, anytime you chip away at or change, an affirmative defense will probably be up. But here I think what's especially troubling from our standpoint is the potential for a felony for someone having their medicine on them and not having their card on them, or however it may be. Last year there was a change in the law for ingestion of a controlled substance to go to a misdemeanor. That went through. However, possession is still a Class 5 felony. So here, what we really are concerned about is someone who doesn't have their card on them, someone who is at end-of-life care, and the only medicine they're able to take or whatever it may be is drops on their tongue or gummies or whatever it may be, and it's in their pocket, it's in their bedside drawer, whatever it is, and all of a sudden it's a felony for them to have that medicine on them but not have their card or whatever it may be. This is certainly not a get-out-of-jail-free card. This is certainly not a you can't arrest me card as well. So if someone is arrested for a possession of controlled substance, whatever it may be, possession of marijuana, they can still be arrested. Your defense does not come up until you're going through the criminal justice system. You've been charged, you've been indicted by a grand jury, or here with the felony, you might get arrested, you might get charged, you have to get an attorney, you have to go to your preliminary hearing, you have to go to your arraignment, then you set a motions hearing where you make the motion to raise this affirmative defense, and then down the line you might have a hearing on whether or not you qualify for the affirmative defense, or God forbid you go all the way to trial and you raise that affirmative defense at trial. This is extremely costly, this is extremely worrisome. And there's no guarantee that the affirmative defense works. And I want to point out one other thing. You have to read all these statutes in 3420G in concert with one another. So here, if you raise the affirmative defense, regardless of what it is, you still have to prove up all of the requirements in 3420G51. It still has to be solely for a medical purpose. You can't be over the possession limit. And really how I read it is it's not helping anyone that's using it for recreational, and this is certainly not a recreational defense to marijuana. Even if you raise the affirmative defense, the prosecution can still overcome that if the use or possession of that marijuana was for any purpose other than palliative or therapeutic use. That's found in 3420G52. I think there are unintended consequences with the way it is, with the way it previously was. And part of that also arises from, you know, we're kind of in a unique scenario. We have South Dakota's borders, but within our own borders, we have several sovereignties. We have reservation systems. They run their own, some of them run their own cannabis programs. So if you're someone on the reservation who might qualify as a patient under the state system, but say you never leave the reservation except very, very infrequently, you could be on their cannabis program. And here you wouldn't be able to raise the defense even if otherwise you were totally qualified. So I just want to reiterate that people using this defense are not recreational users. If you are a recreational user, you are not going to be allowed to raise this defense. So the worry here is that, you know, possessing your medicine becomes an indefensible, strict liability felony. And I would ask you send this to the 41st day. Thanks.
Thank you. Do we have any other opponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Tara Larson. I'm an attorney here in Pierre and registered lobbyist for the Cannabis Industry Association of South Dakota. We too ask that you send this bill to the 41st day in whatever form it may be that in the, did the amendment actually pass? I apologize, Mr. Chair. Okay, very good. So be that in the new amended form or the prior amended form. Over 70% of the voters voted in favor of medical cannabis. This was an integral part of that to the voters. And the criminal defense lawyers, lobbyists just kind of talked about a couple of examples, but I want to use some real life examples that we've actually seen in these situations. The current program is, while it is doing great and while they're making great progress, is still pretty new, and there's some gaps, right, in terms of renewal of cards, in terms of expiration of cards, and we have been running into legitimate patients who do run into gaps because of the annual renewal, because of all of the requirements that it takes to renew your card every year. Well, those people who are legitimate patients who maybe have had their card expired, who are on hospice care and, you know, can't actually get that done, again, they'll be felons. They're not smoking it. They will be felons under this without the ability to bring an affirmative defense. Again, people on the reservations, we have seen that numerous times where somebody has had a tribal marijuana card. They absolutely qualify, but they haven't filled out the requisite paperwork with the state, because you have to fill out requisite paperwork, but they don't know that, right? They have a card. They go off of the reservation, they get pulled over, they get a felony, and now on the bright side, they can raise that affirmative defense. And yep, they still have to get an attorney, they still have to hire all of, and pay the cost to defend that, but they at least have that option. With this bill, they don't have that option, and they will be felons. We don't want to see more felons in this state. 37 of 39 states that actually have medical marijuana have this affirmative defense in their language. The two other states have actually essentially a get out of jail free type card. So all of the states that have medical cannabis have this type of safeguard in place. We'd ask you vote this no, and we ask you to take this bill to the 41st day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'd have time for one more. Do we have any other opponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Mitch Richter with Genesis Farms. I think this is the 4th year that you've had this bill, and it's been defeated every year. But what you're doing is slapping a felony. Think about this for a minute. You're slapping a felony on somebody for forgetting their card, and all the responsibilities and rights that go with that felony, if they're convicted, then are traveling with this individual for the rest of their life. There's certain professions that that person will not be able to do. There's housing issues, apartments they won't be able to apply for. There's voting rights. There's just a number of things that you're going to disqualify a person for simply forgetting their card. Is that correct? I think not. I'd urge you to send this bill to the 41st day. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, we'll close opponent testimony and go to rebuttal. Okay, and introduce yourself again for online.
Travis Ismay, District 28B. Thank you, Mr. Chair. There's been a lot of talk about felonies and all this other stuff. This is just requiring that you have a card. Right now, your name is not hooked to your registry identification number on the registry. So the police officers have no idea who you are without that number. It's impossible to figure it out because their name is not hooked to the number. It makes it a giant mess for law enforcement, for the medical marijuana users, because if your name's not hooked to your number, they cannot look it up. It would just simplify the process so much if they were required to have a card. So I think it's more of a protection for the marijuana or the medical marijuana users than anything else. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Mr. Chair. I don't know if this is the right question or not, and I'm not quite sure who to ask, but so currently we've had this discussion in here before about the being able to, for the police to be able to see who should have a card and who doesn't have a card. There is a system that I believe the secretary testified to at one point that is up and coming. Will that system that's up and coming allow the police officer to quickly check to see if a person has a card or not? Can anyone answer that question? Because she's not here.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bobby Andera, District 10. Thank you, Senator. My understanding after having conversations with her, there is a digital card that is being worked on right now, and the understanding is yes, they would be able to see that. That's why having the card on your person, and that's what I brought up in my testimony, is that we have to kind of look more forward into the future and not have to constantly go back to this particular piece of legislation. So my understanding is yes, they will be able to.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, will Senator Perry.
That's always good to have an experienced, great senator beside you. Thank you, sir. I just have a question. Like, I was 14 years old when I got my first driver's license, and I basically carried it in my wallet since I was 14 years old. And are you asking me if I'm a fan? I have voted for medical marijuana. All right. Are you asking in this bill that we have a card available whenever we're out and about?
Mr. Chair? Yes.
Okay, thank you. That makes things clear.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Senator
If I
Voigt.
could follow up for the sponsor. What you are saying here is if there's a medical use by someone, they need to have that card with them. Same thing is true if I enter a facility that requires access, i.e. this facility we're setting in. You need an identification to get in, correct? We're not asking anybody that is involved in use of marijuana to have the identification, verification that they have registered. Is that correct?
Mr. Chair, I'm a little bit slow this morning, so can you clarify your question just a little bit?
What I'm saying is we all carry cards with us. Driver's license, access to military bases, access to political entities. What we're asking here is if you're involved in the use of marijuana, you need to have a card indicating that.
Yes, absolutely. And here's kind of a good example. If I get caught going down the road without my driver's license, I get pulled over, they can give me a ticket for not having my driver's license on me, but I have a driver's license. The way it is currently, I can not get a driver's license, be going down the road, get pulled over, have the officer ask me if I was planning on getting a driver's license. I can say yes, and I don't get in trouble. That's basically the way it is right now. So I was thinking about getting a driver's license. So that's currently the way it is.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Okay, seeing none, we'll close testimony and open it up to, or close questioning, I'm sorry. Open it up to committee action and or discussion.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that House Bill 1065 be moved to the 41st day.
So Senator Reed moves House Bill 1065 to the 41st day, seconded by Senator Smith. Remarks on your comments on your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When a sponsor of a bill asks us to amend it, it's usually our committee common courtesy to make that change. The change that we made, the process that went through in the House made it, I think, a much better bill. The idea that you have to at least be on the registry, I think, is a valid concept. But to say you have to have that card with you at all times, in example was used of getting in a building. A lot of times, like here, you don't have your pass to get in the building. You can go through security, and you can check in with them. They may or may not let you in, but there's an alternate to doing it. And the previous form of this bill took into account that you have to be registered, you have to go through the process, but you don't have to have the card on you. And I think the way we move the bill back to will cause a lot of problems for those folks that just may have left their card behind. And so I would ask that you support my motion to move it to the 41st day.
Any other discussion?
Can I?
Senator Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess that my problem with the bill is that removing the affirmative action and all of that is that you're talking about people with a debilitating disease. That's who should have the card. And so if I'm someone that has a debilitating disease, I might be in the hospital. I might not be thinking about my medicinal card, marijuana card, as I'm in the hospital. If I get out from the hospital and I'm on the road with something that was prior to me being in the hospital was perfectly fine. Today my card is expired or whatever. I don't have my card and I have a gummy in my car. I'm going to be found guilty of possession, which is a felony. And so I struggle with that, we're not, like, these people are sick. So I just think that we need to be we need to be cautious in how we do this. And also, it sounds like the Secretary of Health is moving as quickly as possible to get this where people can just have it on their cell phone and say, here's my card. And so I'm going to have to support the 41st day. I think we need to take care of the people who are sick in this state and legally have the right to have medicinal marijuana.
Any other comments? Senator Voigt.
If I could, thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess I will get personal. I carry a card on me all the time. It's because I've got a pacemaker. I don't have to have that on me. If I have a situation where that's necessary for people to be aware where I'm at and the condition that I'm in, I need that card on me. I carry that card all the time. It's my billfold. This is absurd saying that if you're engaged in that, you can't have a card on you. It's not like you put it to bed or you brush your teeth every day. That's not what it's about. It's about having access to that if it becomes necessary to verify that you're involved or using marijuana, no matter what the situation is, medical or not. You need a card. I don't understand why it's an issue other than those that don't want to be accountable are using it as an issue.
Okay, thank you. Senator Smith.
I will be supporting this motion, and one of the logical reasons is I could right now possess a narcotic by prescription, but not have to have my script on me. But I could show you that I have a prescription later, and I would not be found a felon for having that narcotic. This is another form of medicine. While it's not a prescription, it's a permit to have it, and I think it should follow the same path.
Thank you. Any other comments? I guess I'll just make one quick one. I signed on as Senate Prime in the original form of the bill. I'm not sure about this. I forgot my wallet the other day. I'm not a medical marijuana person, but I forgot my wallet the other day, and I drove all the way into town and back without my driver's license. I'm struggling with this amendment. I don't think I would have approved of that. Anyway, any other comments? Seeing none, we have a 41st day amendment, or motion, excuse me, by Senator Reed, seconded by Senator Smith on House Bill 1065. Those in favor say aye, opposed nay. Ask the Secretary to call the roll.
Senator Grove.
Aye.
Perry.
Nay.
Reed.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Voigt.
Nay.
Davis.
Aye.
Jensen.
Nay.
Mr. Chair, we have 4 yeas and 3 nays.
Okay, so House Bill 1065 will be sent to the 41st day. Oops. House Bill 1065 will be sent to the 41st day. Okay, moving on to the agenda. We have House Bill 1199. Address prior authorization and reporting requirements by utilization review organizations and healthcare carriers. Do we have any proponent testimony?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of Senate Health, Senator Sidney Davis, District 17. I've got a nice, easy bill for us after this very spirited debate this morning. All right, so HB 1199, this is a result of a lot of conversations we've had over the past 2 years regarding health carriers, utilization review organizations, and medical providers. So essentially insurance companies and those providing the care. We've seen gold card bills come before this committee before, and what those proposals would allow is that healthcare providers that are consistently meeting prior authorization standards to bypass some of those requirements. These bills were aimed at reducing administrative burden and allowing providers more time to focus on patient care. This bill before you, HB 1199, is a compromise. It doesn't go as far as full gold carding, but it is a meaningful step in that direction. And what this bill does is it brings transparency and accountability to the prior authorization process. It requires health carriers to report prior authorization data to the Division of Insurance. The division will then evaluate the information and then produce a public report outlining the raw data so that we can clearly see what's happening on this issue. Additionally, it requires carriers and utilization review organizations to regularly evaluate whether certain procedures and services still justify prior authorization requirements. As a healthcare provider, I understand and see the frustration that comes with unnecessary administrative hurdles and burdens, but I also understand the need for oversight and responsible cost management. And so this bill strikes a thoughtful balance. And so with that, I would ask you to support HB 1199, and I'll stand by for questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Good morning.
Mr. Chair, committee members, Doug Abraham, attorney for peer registered lobbyist for the South Dakota Association of Specialty Care Providers. Excuse me. Senator Davis did such a great pitch. She covered virtually all these issues. I will say the origin of this language and structure comes from Iowa, and it was a bill that passed in Iowa involving much of the same players. So compliance for a lot of our health carriers will be fairly streamlined here and consistent, which is always good for them. If you look, the first section of the bill details with everything that will actually be reported within that prior authorization process to the Division of Insurance. You know, we will have a report on that. We'll be able to evaluate and get firm data from the health carriers so we can see exactly where we are from an industry standpoint, and we'll be able to take a little deeper look in the future and see exactly what our delays are, what the issues are concerning prior authorization. And it also requires in Section 2, although we realize it doesn't, and that's part of the compromise process, doesn't have any real teeth to it, but also directs utilization review organizations and health carriers to annually take a look at what they're doing and what they're approving on a procedural basis, and evaluate whether the plan's administrative costs associated with prior authorization make sense based on what they're approving, which is, it's a good direction as far as self-review, and I think moves us in the direction of eliminating some of these inefficiencies and really getting the data so we can evaluate whether they are inefficient and where the problems are. And it's always nice to work with the carriers and come to a middle ground that everybody can live with. So we'd encourage your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Justin Bell. I'm a registered lobbyist for the South Dakota State Medical Association. We were strong proponents of the original legislation before you, and when it came to this committee last year, we support this bill in its current form. It's a step forward, small step forward. It's not going to solve the problem, but it will give us additional data to evaluate moving forward based off of that and the compromise process. We would ask for you to move this forward to the floor with a do pass recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Other proponent testimony?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Allie Dawes on behalf of Sanford Health. We would ask for your support of House Bill 1199. As an integrated health system and health plan, we understand and acknowledge the balance that must be struck in developing prior authorization policy. Our aim is to keep the patient and member at the center and also keeping healthcare and insurance affordable. We sincerely appreciate the bill's sponsor to find a compromise, balance, and incremental progress, and we'd ask for your support on 1199. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the Senate Health and Human Services Committee. My name is Darla Pullman Rogers, and I am a registered lobbyist for Wellmark, Blue Cross, Blue Shield. We are a Me Too on this bill. We appreciate the opportunity to work with the stakeholders and to come up with this compromise, and we urge you to support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Okay, seeing none. Do we have any opponent testimony? Okay, seeing none. No need for rebuttal. I'll open it up to committee questions. Okay, seeing none. I'll close questions and open up to committee action and or discussion.
Mr. Chair, I move to pass House Bill 1065. No, 1199, excuse me. 1199, that's where we're at.
Senator Smith moves do pass on House Bill 1199, seconded by Senator Perry. And any discussion on your motion?
Appreciate that the organizations keep working together and that they've come up with a compromise. It might not be where everybody wants it to be, but I think it's a step in the right direction for all parties, and I appreciate the work that they've done.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, the motion before us is Senator Smith moves House Bill 1199, do pass, seconded by Senator Perry. All those in favor will say aye, opposed nay. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Grove.
Aye.
Perry.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Voigt.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
And Mr. Chair, we have 7 yeas.
Okay, thank you. So House Bill 1199 goes to the floor with due pass motion. Is there any objection to consent? Seeing none, we'll certify House Bill 1199 for consent. Next up, we have House Bill 1250, revise the types of community-based providers for purposes of state-funded services. Do we have any proponent testimony?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Brian Mulder, State Representative out of District 11, Sioux Falls. And, Mr. Chair and committee, House Bill 1250 is really all about information. In 2017 or 18, this body made a statute in 2822.6 listing nursing home facilities, assisted living facilities, in-home service providers, group care providers, psychiatric residential treatment facilities, substance abuse disorder treatment and prevention providers, community health providers, ICFs for co-occurring intellectual disabilities, and community support providers. They mandated that every 5 years, just those providers have their methodologies reviewed. Just update them, keep them current. We need information. Prior to 2017 or 18, it was about 2001 that some of these providers had not been updated in their methodologies. Now, it's not a funding mandate. It doesn't mean that you fund them at 100%. It's just information for the legislative body and appropriators when putting together the budget. But it also has come to light that in that critical care access hospitals and federally qualified health centers were left off that list. And you'll hear from some of the proponents, it's been decades since they've been updated methodologies. So what we're doing is just adding those two areas, critical care access hospitals and federally qualified health centers, to 2822.6, so their methodologies are looked at every 5 years, just like the other providers. That's what we're doing in this bill. I'll stand by for questions, but allow other proponents to come forward.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other proponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Liz Schenkel, and I represent Community Healthcare Association of the Dakotas. We serve as the primary care association for federally qualified health centers, also referred to as FQHCs or health centers. FQHCs in South Dakota serve more than 126,000 residents in 31 communities. That is 1 in 8 South Dakotans and 1 in 5 people who get their insurance through Medicaid. Per federal mandate, we cannot balance our payer mix like private independent clinics can. We must serve anyone in need of care regardless of their ability to pay. Most of the state's FQHCs have not had their rates updated based on cost in over 25 years. And according to DSS hired consultants, health centers only receive about 60% of the current cost to deliver care. That reimbursement deficit has led to service reductions and site closures across the state in 2025. House Bill 1250 would provide a consistent and routine process to review and update rates and prevent us from falling so far behind again. This bill does not lock in a dollar amount. It doesn't guarantee a rate increase upon review, and it definitely does not bypass legislative oversight. It simply ensures that FQHCs are part of a regular, transparent review process so we don't allow gaps to grow so large that access to care is again put at risk. Health centers are lean and efficient Medicaid providers, but while our rates froze in 2001, our costs did not, and no amount of stewardship can make up for the difference. We respectfully ask for your support on House Bill 1250. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other proponent testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Jacob Parsons. I'm a registered lobbyist on behalf of the South Dakota Association of Healthcare Organizations. We represent all of the critical access hospitals in the state of South Dakota, and so we would align ourselves with the previous speakers, I would say, on the critical access side. That designation came about in 1997, and in 1997 was the last time that those methodologies were looked at. If you followed the rules process dating back to last fall, we've been trying to update and work with the department to update the critical access methodology, and that process has been a little bit bumpy, and so we think that if this were to be reviewed every 5 years, that could smooth that out and be better for our, both the department and our members. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other proponent testimony? Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, committee. Stephanie Sauter, District 4 Senator. I'm basically a Me Too with this. This bill is important to our rural health care. The area that I'm in has suffered because of small clinics and hospitals being reduced or even closed, and so passage of this bill would help our rural health care in many, many ways. Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Any other proponent testimony? Okay, seeing none, do we have any opponent testimony? And we have none online. Any opponent testimony? Okay, no need for rebuttal. I'll open it up to committee questions.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Grove.
Well, I'll ask my question and then whoever wants to answer it. So I guess I was under a different understanding with this bill. So in adding these two names to the list, that means that they can start to increase their rates? Is that what we're doing?
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair. Brian Mulder, District 11 representative. Those organizations would love to do that, but they would not be able to do that. This is really just information. So again, it's just mandating that the departments who oversee these facilities, so DSS or DHS potentially, or DOH, just review their methodology every 5 years. So you have that information. Currently, the ones on the list, that's what I can speak to, and you heard that like federally qualified health centers are being funded at 60% of their costs, because all of these organizations are supposed to operate at cost, is how you're supposed to do it. But then when it comes to funding, like the previous organizations that are on there, because they're under this rate review system, right now they're being funded about 93% of their costs. So for every $1, they get funded about 93 cents. Federally qualified health centers right now are at 60 cents on the dollar. Because they haven't been updated in their methodology payment system since 1997, I think you just heard. So we're saying just update it every 5 years, know the information, but revenues are revenues and funding decisions are funding decisions, and we'll know how big a gap that is. That's what this bill does. It doesn't mandate any funding or payment structure. It's just information.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Okay. Senator Davis? No?
Are we ready for action?
Yeah. We'll close questioning, move to discussion or action.
Okay. I would move do pass on HB 1250.
So, Senator Davis moves do pass on House Bill 1250, seconded by Senator Reed. Any comments on your motion?
Yeah, just appreciate the prime sponsor for bringing it forward, or the sponsors for bringing it forward. It seems like such a common sense step. I'm surprised to know that these facilities weren't included in this review before, and that makes total sense now, hearing that some of these facilities have fallen behind. We're almost coming up on 20 years since the one facility hasn't had a rate increase, but part of that might be contributed to the fact that it isn't in this every 5-year review cycle. And again, it's no guarantee that they're going to get a rate increase, but if we don't, blow the dust off and look at it every now and then, I just think this is a great proactive step to make sure that we are staying current and that we don't, ignore any really crucial services and keep them on pace.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? Okay, seeing none, so the motion before us is do pass on House Bill 1250 by Senator Davis, seconded by Senator Reed. All of those in favor will say aye, opposed nay. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Grove.
Aye.
Perry.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Voight.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Jensen.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, we have 7 yeas.
Okay, thank you. So House Bill 1250, receiving affirmative vote, will pass to the floor with a do pass motion. Is there any objection to consent on this one? Seeing none, we'll certify House Bill 1250 for consent. Well, I'll just make a note. I just want to remind everybody that we will adjourn here again about 15 minutes after session today. We have 3 more bills. We only have 1 more meeting to move all our bills this week. So, yes, Senator Perry. Senator Perry moves to adjourn, seconded by Senator Reed. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Wonder. SDPB brings South